Book 2 is finished. I finished the second notebook. Also, this day was kind of lackluster. I'm not gonna lie. Hi. This is Vision Denial and clearing MSI, or using the knowledge I gained from watching all 12 regions playoff series and so far every day from MSI. I make some analysis and try to clarify anything that could be happening. Yeah. I wasn't sure how to feel about today. Kind of like, not super out of it, but like, the things I expected to happen just kind of happened. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I That's not the entire video, of course, but you know, we'll take a look at what we got here. So let's start with the first game of the day, which essentially established to me like a good representation of where I expect the tournament to end as. Even if Damwon finished the day first place, they still got technically 2-0'd by RNG. But Damwon has only lost to RNG, so I don't know, take that with any way you want to put it. We start with fairly simple compositions from both sides. Happy to see that always, even if they're the highest team. Great, beautiful, simple compositions are great. Beautiful level 1 from Damwon. I love any types of plays that end up 3-buffing a enemy jungler. Those are the types of scenarios that like can really help amp up your tempo. It's just unfortunate that like RNG didn't really respond to it in the best way. They didn't do anything necessarily to bolster like way from this situation. So they managed to just gain leads from the laning phase, just in and of itself. So as Wei was suffering and not able to perform any particular plays over time, the laners were just doing fine. So it more or less says stuff about DK in terms of like they had an execution for an early game play, but they couldn't perform to it. And so like more questions about how good are they at the early game. Have they actually been improving? Do they have a plateau? Is the plateau RNG? Like in a best of 5 scenario, what does that look like? The vision early game from Damwon is really weak compared to RNG, and it's kind of unfortunate. And it really allows RNG to play the neutral objectives and to answer a lot of the pressure that Damwon were putting in fairly easily. And Damwon just showed that they don't know how to keep up their tempo when they have an early game lead of any sort, tempo, gold, or anywise, because they slowly lost the tempo over and like as it goes, with RNG showing up a lot of proactivity throughout the entire game. So was not great. I feel like there's some really bizarre fights that happen in this game. Like a lot of times people were getting caught, but I think that's just a theme of the day. Just a lot of really bizarre fighting, just in general. In the mid game to late game, are both Damwon and RNG show some pretty solid vision overall, so Damwon improve over time, but they both are skipping steps when it comes to the neutral objective play, and it caused the aforementioned weird fights. And I think it's just kind of unfortunate to just look at this and go, alright, so we're just going to assume that Damwon are just going to keep grabbing all of these neutral objectives late game because they're just slightly better at it, without necessarily completing all of the required steps for setting it up. Not cool. I didn't like that. Not a fun time. They both also, this was the game where I was like, both of these teams were really bad at closing games and using the Baron, and this was really weird to watch, just overall. So, at the end of the day, it became just like a fight fest. And RNG had the better end of it and were able to win and close out from that. And with that, they won the head-to-head matchup and tied with Damwon 7-2, each apiece. And so that means that they both had to win a game each to determine that RNG would stay in first place, or if RNG dropped a game, or if either of them dropped a game, like depending on who dropped a game or who didn't, would determine who would be first place or not. It was out of their hands. Next, there are a lot of non-games today, unfortunately. Like the implications were just kind of thrown out the window. And I'm gonna forewarn right now that, like, despite the results of the day, I don't think that the ranking for me in my head changes all too much. Like, it's still close. I think it's now just much closer in my head across the top four. But to me, I think it's still pretty much the same. We then go to Pentanet GG versus Paris Saint-Germain Talons. And shit, Pentanet, you're improving, like time and time again. As I watched this game and the game that you played later into the day, I'm thinking that I would consider improving your ranking overall across all 11 teams from like 9th to 8th, maybe. It's unfortunate we didn't get to see the rest of the teams all too much, and I think that they probably would have had the same kind of growth as you guys did, but I'm genuinely impressed by the approach that you guys had in this game. It didn't help, but you know, appreciate the approach. PSG, so the Talons tend to have a fairly solid amount of early game pressure on a regular basis across this tournament so far, and especially with their increased cohesion and the teamwork getting better and better with Doggo. Fantastic, and it translates well to this. They've upped the tempo during the entire time. The unfortunate matter is that when Pentanet were answering a lot of the pressures, they weren't doing it in any ways that would play to their win conditions, or to answer anything globally at any point. They were just kind of answering for the sake of answering. And I think with over time, if they do practice this kind of play style more often, they'll understand how to actually answer a lot of these plays. The gold lead was being ballooned very, very well out of the Talons. I think it's also really weird that like the vision wasn't super, like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't super great overall across the board. It was kind of unfortunate because like Talons could have had much deeper vision. It was a little shallow for a lot of what was happening. And so I just come out here thinking, well, for a team that's pretty aggressive and have really good map movement across the game, they don't play their vision game well enough for me to just justify the movement itself. And so it just leads to me thinking that they'll get caught out and punished more often later in during the best of fives if this is the trend that they go with. They do have, however, an efficient Baron, a very, very efficient Baron, and a solid close. And with that, Pentanet still go with only one win, so they're 1-8, and then Talons go 5-4, solidifying that they now have qualified for best of fives. And with that, we head to our next game. And note, Cloud9, who really needed to have at least 2 wins and make sure that Mad and or PSG didn't get a win before they even get to play is a lot. Because we get to RNG and Mad, and I feel bad for C9 because RNG has shown more and more inconsistencies over time, while Mad has been showing more and more their consistency. So, next. Well, yeah, this next is this. This is really interesting for me because I really thought RNG would have a better execution of a composition that's this simple, and that they would really abuse the composition that Mad had. And not that Mad's composition is complicated. No, in fact, it's the best non-committal to a 1-4 composition. It is a champion that team fights very well while still having the options to do 1-4, so they didn't have to like really commit to one or the other. So like it's a easy enough composition to pull off. Um, I can right. There's a lot of good stuff in terms of like how Mad used the punish that they had garnered from the early game fumble that was RNG's attempt at doing vision at all from jungle tracking. So like they take it and they balloon the lead fairly well. Um, I wish that it was a little better because it was really slow um, for the first little bit, but they've kept it up throughout the entire game itself. So I have no huge. It would be minor nitpicks more than anything else at this point. RNG still show that they're proactive and they respond to pressure very well. And so that just tells me that no matter what, RNG playing behind or ahead will still keep that up. And that's not new. I'm just thinking proactively in terms of like the best of 5 because this is the day that we get to see them before like 2-day breaks for their next best of 5. And so just thinking about the way that they're going to be playing in terms of these best of 5s, meaning that like even behind in tempo between games or during a game, they're likely to still keep up the proactivity, which is different from how Mad usually tends to play these. There's some very solid vision played during this entire game. Specifically, I wrote here for the mid game in and of itself. So greatly appreciated. RNG, and I also mentioned just the proactivity, but some of their answers are fairly ambitious across the board. Let me see if I have a specific one here. Yeah, 19 minutes. But I mean, Mad respond literally a minute later with almost the exact, with a lot of overstepping as well. And it's pretty fun. I enjoy this kind of stuff on a general basis. I think it was more of the kind of game that I enjoyed watching today, more than a lot of the other ones today. I think because to me at that point it was relief. We're halfway through the day and we already know who are the top 4 and who are eliminated. Solid. Then we've got right, but there's like a long lull here where pretty much more of the same thing. A lot of posturing that comes from it, and there's a big Baron fight, and then it closes out fairly quickly. And Mad showing that they can still close quickly and have a solid Baron from it shows again some of their consistencies. Despite the last game that they play against Cloud9, which I don't really want to like think about too hard, but we'll get there when we get there. But this game shows that like with the win against RNG that they are able to show a level of consistency across the board. I think they've beaten everyone except for Damwon, so they better hope that they don't play Damwon. I haven't checked yet who's going to go against who yet. But with it, RNG now put their hopes and dreams into Pentanet to beat Damwon to secure first place. Otherwise, they're very much second place. Spoiler alerts: they get second place at 7-3, and Mad go 5-4, qualifying themselves and eliminating Cloud9 before they even have a chance to play today, which is Cloud9's fault more than it is Mad's. All right. Next on the docket. Oh, there's this. It's really small. Oh, not so small. There we go. Next on the docket, we have. Oh, right. It's Cloud9's first game against the PSG Talons. And the PSG Talons straight up don't give a darn about the situation. They want to show that they can still play, and I like it. I really like it. And I'm not going to harsh too much on Cloud9. I appreciate that they picked a simpler composition this time. I mean, it's too late, but, you know, you'll take it when you can. And I think that it's a lot of fun, the Kaido composition that the PSG took out. It's also still simple, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of ability to like hit on a lot of angles. I like that Cloud9 are still consistent with their vision game. As a thing that's gone underappreciated, at least by me, is that Cloud9 every so often will have spotty vision, but at least they've been consistent with how good their vision is during the mid to late game, and that their early game vision depends really on the team, but they've been solid enough in their vision for me to write it on a consistent basis with all of these games that I've watched. So good on you guys. It's not enough to qualify you later into it, but you know, 5th place is pretty good. Solid. Paris Saint-Germain get the early tempo lead and gold lead. And where one time Cloud9 would have been too slow to answer a lot of these plays, now they're too eager and ambitious with the way that they do answer them. Which is unfortunate. They had like a good scuttle play and then it just fumbled and turned to shit. That was around the 7.5-minute mark, and it lasted for quite a bit. Perks is also having just an awful day in general. And I was pretty harsh towards him in my previous video. I feel justified in saying that I was pretty harsh in that video. But like, this is a pretty bad day for him. He didn't even get to play, and now he's just going to get bullied. PSG do still opt into some bizarre fights, in my opinion. They have a lot of moments where where they just go into fights thinking that they definitely have the ability to go like to win them, and then just C9 to punish them appropriately. A lot of badly played traps or like bush plays. I wrote down the 31-26 Hanabi's victorious crab rave. That was a fun time. I wrote here that NC9 were very good at punishing the mispositions on a lot of different things around the neutral objectives that PSG put up. It's really unfortunate to see that PSG did not balloon the gold lead super well. And I think this is a testament of Cloud9 understanding how to punish them and really catching them out. But they've kept the tempo lead the entire time. So, solid on them. Because of that, the tempo lead allows them to get Baron. And then they gain a 5k gold, so they were able to balloon it with the Baron. Paris Saint-Germain, unfortunately, this game were a little Baron reliant, which shows me more that they are not as, like, not strong, but like, they haven't properly set up their win conditions, or they don't properly recognize their win conditions, and oftentimes just default to it. And this was a critique I had oftentimes of smaller regions during the Road to MSI series that I did. And it's really unfortunate that I see them coming back to it in this game. Yeah, it was real unfortunate, because they were pretty clean in the Pentanet game, and this game was not so great. But I wrote there that they had a great late game vision, and they were able to close it out well enough for it to go through. And with that, PSG get 6-4, and then C9 get 2-7. And if PSG wants 3rd place going into the best of 4, they hope that Cloud9 can egg out a win. All right. Next on the docket, we have these last 2 games of the day are very goofy, in my opinion. So then we got Damwon, boom, versus Pentanet. And this is where my book goes to a new book. New book. Beautiful. Again, Pentanet Go for simple stuff. Beautiful. Awesome. And you approach this super, super well. But unfortunately, this is one of those games where Damwon play the early game very well. Like, incredibly so. Uh, so, and not to mention, like, the fact that, like, Damwon still have these up and downs because they're playing, their play style them in and of itself is very aggressive and, like, easily punished. Um, but they show up, they gain a lead really early, especially through their laning phase, which is to be expected. Them not knowing how to properly apply the lead in ways that are not just straight up laning phase is not a surprise to me. But at least it's now 4 for 4, 6 for 6 games, or no, 8 now. It's 4 days in a row where I see them at least applying pressure early game in a way that doesn't lead me to think that they'll just completely fudge it up when it comes to the best of fives. Great. It's still not consistent enough for me to think that they will win the whole tournament. Not at least against not RNG, who will be the finalist if RNG wins. I think it's unfortunate that for any of the games for Pentanet to be very inactive and kind of reactive, this was not the game to do it. Like, this is the game where you show that you can have a comprehensive, simple composition that, like, scales and does proper disengage and all the rest of the stuff. And you're being inactive. There's very little moments that you show any proactivity, and it's very unfortunate because I would have really loved to see you guys, like, show something. Show us what you got, you know? I mean, like, you have, but this is a new sign. Like, you started showing this, like, 3 games ago, that you guys are, like, taking it, not like you're not taking it seriously, but you're taking it with a monochrome of more thought than you would have in your own region. There's some solid vision out of you guys in Pentanet. Good job. It's too unfortunate that Damwon have better vision denial, and so it just kind of renders it a little ineffective overall. Pabu, unfortunately, this doesn't seem to be a playstyle that is very friendly to you, and so you ended up getting caught quite a bit. And this is, like, not just this game, but multiple other games. Where was I with this? Right. And same with Pradith. Both Pradith and Pabu have been pretty disappointing overall. I think they're the weakest players of that team. And not just because of, like, results and score lines and all the rest of that stuff, but mostly just they don't seem to put the same kind of pressure that, like, Chaz or Biopanther put. But I think it's also a consequence of just the lack of practice to being cohesive. When everybody's like a cook, when there's too many cooks in the kitchen and not enough servers, it's kind of hard to, like, really tell who's supposed to shine until you really can tell that somebody's doesn't have the fundamentals. It's a really awkward way to say that, like, I think that Chaz and Biopanther are somehow better team players than Pradith and Pabu, which I don't know. Yeah. I do hope that at least they come back for their summer playoffs and they play much better, and that they could, like, come in like a wrecking ball from this. And, like, I'm talking about them a little bit more, because, like, they're eliminated and this is the last game we see of them. And honestly, like, I talked about, and just, like, not that long ago, I talked about how I would consider placing them a little bit higher. Like, I consider them the 9th place team overall so far in the power rankings, right? Barring the mix-up, like how I would shuffle the top 5 or how I shuffle the top 4. The solidly in 9th place is where I would have put Pentanet. Like, right behind Infinity and Pain, where I thought they were, like, it's fairly close between the 3 of them that it was justifiable. But like I could given the kind of improvement that I've seen out of them over this Rumble stage, I probably would raise them a little bit to eighth, maybe to be ahead of Infinity and behind Pain, maybe seventh to be ahead of the two of them. But nothing here tells me that they would be even remotely close to Detonation Focus Me, which means that like I don't know, this they were fun, but they were definitely playing an uphill battle that they got further uphill than I expected. So, round of applause. With that, Damwon secure first place, like guarantee it. I don't think that they are first place in ranking for me. I think that's more of a question of RNG having to clean up their act a little bit than them being better than RNG. But it is what it is. And then the last game of the day, we have Mad versus Cloud9. And my god, did I write not a whole lot. I wrote a lot of notes about like the fighting. There's a lot of fighting that happens in this game. Not a lot of really good like early game. There's some jungle tracking, some pretty solid jungle tracking from both sides. Mad has a better better early game tempo, good grasp of vision. They balloon the game well, and then it just divulges into like a brawl, like just absolute fighting. And I'm not going to comment on the team composition. To me, this screamed very much, fuck it. And you know what? I went, fuck it. It was not the cleanest, I would say, of games. And at the end of the day, like, what did Cloud9 have to lose? Really? What did, like, not very much, right? What did Mad have to lose? Not very much, right? They had already qualified, and the position of third and fourth place did not matter in the grand scheme of things. It was going to be picked by Damwon, so they were just going to play for the sake of playing, and I can appreciate it. Some of the things that I would like to propose, however, is taking a look at what happens in terms of like just like the thought process behind individual playmaking, because this was very much them playing a solo queue-esque type game where the individual strength is really what shined throughout more than anything else, right? I want to say though also that like the Baron use is pretty garbage in this game. Cloud9 used it in ways that were ineffective, especially given the composition that they had. Mad did very well to absorb the pressure, but I think that Mad had a much worse Baron. As they lose the game with it. So like, you can't get much worse than that, really. While you still have Baron and your Nexus is falling, not good. Not a good look. This is really bad look. And it doesn't diminish, however, how I think Mad are going to do in the best of 5. I do think that they're going to do fairly competitively versus whoever they play with. If they play against Damwon, I don't think they'll do super solid. Damwon closes much better, but I do think that they will be able to punish their early game well enough. Given if Damwon does not continue their reign of improvement. If they play against RNG, I think they're absolutely boned. Like, I think RNG has lost to, has lost to Cloud9, PSG, and Mad, but not to Damwon. But despite the fact that they've lost once to all of those teams, I do not think that Mad will beat them in a best of 5. I don't think that... Not that I don't think that they're bad at best of 5s. No, I think that just the types of teams that they had to face do not match into terms of the same thing when they were doing the playoffs, and that so far the best of 1 formats have shown that they show some consistency once they've gotten comfortable, but it takes some time for them to get comfortable with the scenario, right? And best of fives tend to have their own meta enclosed on their own compared to everything else. And then Cloud9. I mean, guys, you beat all of these teams in the top 6 at least once. I mean, that's not an accomplishment. But every team you faced off at least once, you've beaten them. And that just reminds me of every international tournament so far, except for like 2 of them. And I don't want this to be like, I don't want people to look at this and go like, oh, North America fumbles again. Guys, they got 5th place. Shut the hell up. They got 5th place out of 12. They're in the top 50%. They still managed to do incredibly well. They still beat at least once all of the teams in the top 4. They were still competitive throughout. Even I, who was extra harsh on them, have to recognize that they do have the skills to be at this table. Maybe like the kid version of this table, as I'm going to be a jokester a little bit, but they still have the ability and the right approach on a lot of times to face off against these teams. It's unfortunate that a lot of these players that we expected to step up did not. And it required a lot of the other players to do way more than they were expected to. I'm talking about Perks and Blabber vis-a-vis the rest of the team. But they show, at least in this game, that they are able, willing, and capable of stepping up and showing exactly how they would approach the game. Even if we don't think it's good, or that one of the casters, I think the other game mentioned, I'd rather C9 play their own meta than play the meta because they're better at that than the actual meta. And part of me is like, sure, yes, and I would partially agree, but I'm happy to see that at least Cloud9 have shown that with the meta itself, they can still play and compete internationally in ways that are significant, and that they can still also mix and match times that they play their own thing. And hopefully the rest of North America approach the scenario the same way when it comes to Worlds. Yeah. With that, Cloud9 get eliminated, or they got eliminated earlier, but they secure solidly 5th place, and then Mad Lions go 5-5. And even, to me, the ranking for things still stay the same as they are. RNG 1st place, Damwon 2nd, Mad 3rd, or PSG 4th, and yes, I understand that doesn't match the actual scoreline, except for Cloud9 and Pentanet being 5th and 6th does, and I kind of don't care. Mostly because I don't think the best of one format always gives the most accurate portrayal of what's going on. You still have to look at the meat of the scenario to properly see or understand how things are going to shake out in best of fives. That being said, time to say goodbye to 2 more. So we're going to go by Pentanet and then by Cloud9. So let's see what the schedule looks like. So we've got ourselves RNG versus PSG on Friday. And Mad versus Damwon. And unfortunately, I think that... Ooh, wait, given this, Damwon might win the tournament. Oh no. That's actually really unfortunate. Even if I think RNG is the strongest team, PSG might egg out a comeback from this. I strongly doubt it. If I was to give a prediction here, and I think I'm going to do it here, so one, I think that Damwon are probably going to go 3-0 against Mad Lions, so I'm doing soft ones so that it's not hard on people's ears, and primarily because I think that they close better and that they're so far in the up and up in terms of early game leads, and that Mad Lions have not been like the most consistent. They are like consistent, but they are not at the level that makes it seem to like show that they like their high highs are not high enough consistently enough compared to their low lows, um, that I would think that they could outdo Damwon in any given case. So I think 3-0 for Damwon versus Mad. That being said, I think 3-1, so I'll take it, for RNG versus PSG Talons. And yes, part of it is because RNG lost to this team. They lost to both Mad and PSG, but I think it's also because like PSG has been the team that is the most likely to match their aggressiveness in the mid and late game, and I think that they have been fairly good at showing any types of ballooning at any given point. But this is what our best of 5 will look like. How nice! And then I'm just gonna still say that the two teams that are gonna make it are still Damwon and RNG, because that should be the safe prediction. You guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. How'd you guys feel about the Rumble stage? Did you feel disappointed, cheated near the end? Let me know and why. I appreciate it again, all of you who do watch the videos. It means a lot to me. Like and subscribe if you do enjoy the video. I'll leave over here the playlist for Road to MSI, where I've watched all 12 regions of the playoff series, which is how I get my educated analysis and use it to take a look at all of these particular games. And then over here I will have the Clearing MSI series, which will have a look at every day so far that I've watched of MSI, which is usually on the day of. As much as I can live, most of the time I can't, but will do. And then next time, we're going to be watching the PSG versus RNG series. It's a best of 5 analysis. I haven't done that in a long time. It's like 3 weeks. 4 weeks? 3 weeks. I'll see you in the next one. See you Friday. Bye now.